Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. I beg your pardon, in the next hour. The 18th Lok Sabha will begin its first sitting on Monday with members taking oath over the next 2 days. The Speaker's election and President's address to the joint sitting to be highlights of this session. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar visits the Baps Hindu Temple in Abu Dhabi. India and the UAE to take ties forward culturally as well as strategically. In the United Kingdom, hundreds of passengers are stranded at Manchester Airport as a power outage causes flight cancellations and severe delays. And Switzerland to face Germany in the UEFA Euro 2024 tonight. Switzerland looks to book their place in the round of 16 of the competition. The 18th Lok Sabha will have its first session from the 24th of June to the 3rd of July. The members will be sworn in. A speaker will be elected on the 26th. The President of India will address both houses on the 27th. And during the session, the Prime Minister is expected to introduce his Council of Ministers to Parliament. The opposition too is expected to raise several issues as well as during this 8-day session. Here's more.
The first session of the 18th Lok Sabha will be held from 24th June to the 3rd of July 2024. All members will be sworn into their respective seats after having won the recently concluded parliamentary elections. Pro Tem Speaker Bhartruhari Mehtab will administer the oath to the members, who will then be assigned seats with the Treasury or opposition according to their party affiliations. The Pro Tem Speaker is appointed by the President and by convention is usually the senior most member of the House. The newly elected members will then elect the Speaker, who will become the presiding officer of the House for the term of the Lok Sabha or until he or she is removed by a majority vote. In a similar procedure, the members will also elect a Deputy Speaker of the House. The Deputy Speaker's post, however, has been lying vacant since the 2019 elections and through the term of the 17th Lok Sabha. As this is the inaugural session, the President of India, who is the head of state, and all its branches will address a joint sitting of both houses of Parliament. The address will likely outline the government's agenda for the next 5 years. The session will span 8 days, during which Prime Minister Modi will introduce his Council of Ministers to both houses. Additionally, after a decade, a party has qualified to appoint a leader of the opposition, requiring 1/10 of the Lok Sabha's total strength, which is currently 55 members. The Congress party with 99 members meets this criteria. The opposition aims to discuss several issues during the session, including concerns of the NEET examination, railway safety post recent accidents, alleged misuse of government agencies, purported distress among farmers, and alleged economic mismanagement. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar visited the Baps Hindu Mandir in Abu Dhabi on Sunday. This visit is the first traditional Hindu stone temple in the Middle East, and it underscores the growing cultural and diplomatic ties between India and the United Arab Emirates. BAPS, which stands for Bocha Sanvasi Akshar Purushottam Swaminarayan Sanstha, is a prominent Hindu denomination with a global presence. Jaishankar said that the temple is a visible symbol of the India-UAE friendship. It radiates a positive message to the world and is a true cultural bridge between the two countries. The minister is set to participate in the International Day of Yoga celebrations as well at the Louvre, Abu Dhabi. Dr. Jaishankar will meet the UAE Foreign Minister Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan in the day as well. And our special correspondent DV Vinod Kumar is joining us from Abu Dhabi with an update. Vinod, could you put into context for us the importance of this visit, the substantive issues that are on the agenda?
Mark, before the lights fades away, I'm standing now at the iconic Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi. It's 7:40 p.m. here, and the Indian Embassy has made the International Day of Yoga sessions in the iconic Louvre Museum here. And our External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, is shortly expected to come and inaugurate the Yoga Day celebrations and the Yoga Day sessions which follows. And going into the specifics of this visit of the External Affairs Minister, this can be seen as the continuation of the high-level exchanges that happened recently at the G7 summit in Italy. In the G7 summit, our Prime Minister had met the President of United Arab Emirates, and this visit is likely to be a continuation of that high-level visit, in which we can presume that the high-level discussions which is going to happen with the Foreign Minister of UAE, Sheikh Abdullah bin Saeed Al Nahyan, tonight, and we can expect that many areas which are still untapped, the relation between the two countries which are still untapped, can come on the table for the discussion. Already the relations between India and UAE is already at a high point, in which our trade between the two nations have already touched $84 billion, and we have already targeted $100 billion in trade, non-oil trade by 2030. Yes. The minister had visited the Bochana Swami Akshar Purushottam Swaminathan Sanstha denominated temple here. It is the largest traditional stone temple anywhere in the Middle East, with a footfall of 60,000 devotees per day. And this temple was inaugurated only in this earlier this year, February 14th, by our Prime Minister, and already it has crossed 1 million followers. So this is definitely a good sign of the cultural bridge between the two countries. And what we can expect more on today's today's meeting with the Foreign Minister, that more collaboration in the areas of culture, fintech, India-Middle East Economic Corridor, and maybe some topics of regional interest will also come up for discussion.
Vinod, also, how is the large Indian community benefiting from stronger ties?
Yes, let me give into a context. Last few days, as we know that the world has been celebrating the International Day of Yoga, this strong cultural ties between two nations is evident from the number of people that is participating in these kinds of events. Yesterday, we had an event in Dubai in which 5,000 people had participated. Currently, now I am in Abu Dhabi, but the Sharjah is hosting another event where 7,000 people are going to come on the Skyline campus to do yoga. Can you imagine, in an Arab country, 7,000 people of Indian origin and foreigners are coming to do yoga? This clearly gives a message that the cultural ties between the two nations are at an all-time high. The diaspora is accelerated, and the government-to-government relations and the business relations are all-time high.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very much, DV Vinod Kumar, for joining us from Abu Dhabi with this update. Now, moving on, today marks the 39th anniversary of the Kanishka bombing. In fact, when the airplane was bombed and it was forced to crash, of the Air India flight 182 that claimed the lives of 329 people in 1985. The External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, paid tribute to the victims, and he said, and I quote, "Today marks the 39th anniversary of one of the worst acts of terrorism in history. Pay my homage to the memory of 329 victims of AI 182, Kanishka, who were killed on this day in 1985. My thoughts are with their families. The anniversary is a reminder why terrorism should never be tolerated." India's Union Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Hardeep Singh Puri also paid homage to the 329 victims on board that Air India flight Kanishka 182 in 1985. The Minister Hardeep Singh Puri said on social media, he said, and I quote, "This dastardly bombing on the 23rd of June 1985, it remains one of the most reprehensible acts of terror committed against India. Actions anchored in such extremism have no place in a sane and civilized world. Unfortunately, the systems and mindsets that condoned Kanishka bombing and subsequent acts of terrorism continue to find forces and sympathize sympathizers violating international norms and commitments to combat violent extremism and terrorism. All flights and terminals from Terminals 1 and 2 at the Manchester Airport in the United Kingdom have been cancelled after a power cut in the area caused widespread disruption. And the airport authorities said this in a statement on Sunday. But the airport has also said on social media that the passengers due to fly from Terminal 3 should come to the airport as normal unless advised otherwise by their airline, but they could face some delays. The statement said that some arriving flights are becoming diverted. They are being diverted to other airports, meaning that people due to pick up passengers from the airport should check where they should go to find these passengers. The airport statement did not say whether the power has been restored as yet.
I asked them what was happening and they said, oh, it's a power outage and we're not checking it at the moment. So I said, well, fortunately, I have checked it online. Should I be okay? And the answer was yes, please go through to passport check and security. So I went through passport check and boarding card check. They were done manually, so there were no automated scanning systems in operation. Went through that manually, of course. Came into security. Security, only one of the conveyor belts was working, so it was a little bit slower, but it was fairly quiet because most people were still at check-in. So I jumped the queue, as it were, fortunately for that.
DD India's Ollie Barrett reports from London.
Well, the airport's boss has now issued a personal apology for all of the disruption and says that he is hopeful that things will be back to something like normal at Manchester Airport on Monday, but it will take time to work through some of the disruption that has been caused. It was Terminals 1 and 2 that have seen the real difficulties. Dozens of flights cancelled. Airlines like Virgin and Jet2 and EasyJet and the tour operator TUI have been affected by some of the cancellations and the disruption that has been caused. The airline saying that this power failure of some sort, which happened in the early hours UK time on Sunday, effectively knocked out the ability to use things like baggage checks at departures, security checks at departures, and therefore flights simply weren't able to leave. But it's also caused disruption to arrivals as well, and that's because with no planes leaving Terminals 1 and 2, the airfield around Manchester Airport has simply been too busy with planes and there hasn't been room for all of the normal arrivals. So some flights have been diverted to airports elsewhere. It does mean that thousands of people are having their travel disrupted over Sunday, but also into next week because of all of the knock-on effects that are going to have to be worked through over the next 24 hours. Also, there have been very long queues at parts of Manchester Airport, and this all comes at the start of the very busy British summer holiday season. Ollie Barrett in London reporting for DD India.
And still to come here on DD India News Hour. The German economy minister visits Alibaba Zhejiang University on a trip to China. The US Central Command has destroyed 3 Houthi uncrewed surface vessels in the Red Sea. The Argentinian President Javier Milei has made an official visit to Berlin since he has been elected. It's the first visit to that country.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. And in the latest from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, 2 people, including a 2-year-old child, they were killed in Sevastopol by a Ukrainian missile attack on Sunday, while 22 people suffered injuries of varying severity. In the Belgorod region, 1 person was killed and 3 injured after Ukraine launched several drones in the Russian town of Graivoron. The Russian guided bombs struck an apartment building in Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, on Saturday, killing at least 3 people and injuring 29. This incident has prompted President Zelensky to call for more help from Kiev's allies. Mayor Ihor Terekhov said that there had been 4 strikes and residents had to run for safety from the site of the destroyed apartment block on hearing these explosions after the initial strike. Kharkiv lies about 30 kilometers from the border with Russia. The city is has about 1.3 million people, and it's frequently been targeted by Russian attacks during this 28 months war. And DD India's correspondent Dasha Chernyshova reports from Moscow.
Both sides rely on the military power, on the military might in order to ensure the outcomes of what Russia has described as its special military operation in Ukraine. We've heard that the Ukrainian drone attacks against the targets inside Russia have intensified over the course over the past months, and now this summer we are seeing more and more of those drone attacks. And most recently we've heard that at least 2 civilians died in Russia's Sevastopol, that is in the Crimea. One of them is a 2-year-old child. And the death toll is certainly from those drone strikes is a constant reminder that the operation is ongoing and that Russia needs to protect its airspace from the threats coming from the Ukrainian side. That's the understanding here in Russia. The Russian Foreign Ministry most recently also issued a statement saying that Russia will take all the necessary measures to deprive the authorities in Kiev of the opportunity to deliver strikes on the energy facilities in Russia. That's according to Maria Zakharova, the spokesperson for the Russian Foreign Ministry, when she was commenting on the Ukrainian attacks against the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. So it doesn't seem to be the case that either of the sides is willing to back down and to start the negotiating process, even though Russia has said that it is willing to get back to the negotiating table. But again, provided that the Ukrainian troops withdraw from the 4 regions that Russia now claims as its own. The Ukrainian side has said that it is not going to happen because they say they will fight until they actually get the Russian troops out from those regions. So the prospect for this conflict so far seems to be only the escalation on the battlefield, with both sides fighting as long as they have the weapons.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has emphasized the importance of U.S. support in resolving an arms delivery dispute with confidence. His Defense Minister Yoav Gallant heads to Washington for talks on Gaza and Hezbollah tensions. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon have heightened the border concerns as protests in Tel Aviv demand action for Hamas-held hostages.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressed confidence that the ongoing arms delivery dispute with the United States would soon be resolved.
I highly appreciate President Biden's and the US administration's support of Israel. Since the beginning of the war, the US supplied us with a very important support both in spirit and material with defensive and offensive means. But about 4 months ago, there has been a dramatic decline in arms supply from the US to Israel.
Netanyahu's remarks come as Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant embarks on a crucial visit to Washington, where he is scheduled to meet with top US officials to discuss the Gaza conflict and escalating tensions with Hezbollah.
I will discuss developments on Gaza front, the Lebanon front, and they have a crucial importance at this time. We are prepared for any action that may be required in Gaza, Lebanon, and in other places as well. The transition to Phase C in Gaza Strip is of great importance.
Meanwhile, the Israeli military conducted airstrikes on Hezbollah targets across southern Lebanon amidst growing concerns of cross-border escalations. In a video released by the army, airstrikes targeted an observation post and a military structure in the village of Yarun. On the other hand, demonstrations continue in Tel Aviv with protesters taking to the streets demanding the release of hostages held by Hamas. The protest marks domestic pressure on the Israeli government to address the issue as soon as possible. With Bureau Inputs, Rabindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
Well, the US Central Command destroyed 3 Houthi uncrewed surface vessels in the Red Sea in the past 24 hours. The US force added that the Houthis also launched 3 anti-ship ballistic missiles into the Gulf of Aden, but there were no injuries or significant damage. The US military's Central Command also dismissed as categorically false recent claims about a successful attack by Houthi forces on the aircraft carrier Dwight Eisenhower. Germany's Economy Minister Robert Habeck visited the BMW Research and Development Center in Shanghai on Sunday. Habeck's visit is the first by a senior European official since Brussels proposed hefty duties on imports of Chinese-made electric vehicles to combat what the EU considers excessive subsidies. The Argentinian President, Javier Milei, was received by the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Berlin on Sunday for what was called a working visit. Now, Sunday's trip to Berlin is Milei's first official visit since he was elected president last year. However, outside Berlin's Chancellery, about 24 protesters chanted anti-Milei slogans in Spanish. According to the media, Scholz and Milei, during their 1-hour-long meeting, they were expected to discuss issues such as energy, Mercosur, because the South American trade bloc is also on the agenda because the Brazilian President Lula da Silva wants to reach a deal with the European Union. The Indian Medical Association has expressed its gratitude to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other key ministers for their response to concerns surrounding the NEET undergraduate examination controversies. The Indian Medical Association welcomed the government's decision to transfer the investigation of alleged irregularities in the NEET undergraduate exams to the Central Bureau of Investigation, the CBI. The association commended the government's removal of the Director General of the National Testing Agency (NTA) and the appointment of Shri Pradeep Kumar Kharoka as the new Director General. The IMA also appreciated the introduction of stringent laws aimed at combating malpractice and irregularities in the competitive exams. The UGC chairman, Professor M. Jagdish Kumar, welcomed the government's decision, the intervention on reforming the National Testing Agency or the NTA by way of a high-level committee.
गवर्नमेंट ने एक हाई लेवल एक्सपर्ट कमेटी को भी फॉर्म किया. एनटीए को कैसा रीस्ट्रक्चर करना, इसका फंक्शनिंग को रीस्ट्रक्चर करना, और दूसरा ये पूरा प्रोसेसेस जो होता है एग्जामिनेशन कंडक्ट करने में, ये प्रोसेसेस और डेटा सिक्योरिटी प्रोटोकॉल्स, ये सभी विषयों में एक कमेटी ने रिकमेंडेशंस देगा सो दैट आगे दिनों में जब हम एग्जामिनेशंस कंडक्ट करते हैं, एग्जामिनेशंस फेयर, ट्रांसपेरेंट और क्रेडिबल रहेगा.
Professor Govindan Rangarajan, who is the director of India's premier science education institution, the Indian Institute of Science in Bengaluru, expressed optimism that the measures taken by the government to reform the NTA will go a long way in making the exams more credible, transparent and fair, and he appealed to everyone to be patient.
Since this is an issue which affects lakhs of students, a very thorough investigation into the matter is required before an informed decision can be taken. Unfortunately, overnight solutions are not possible in such complex cases. The government has already formed a high-level committee headed by a very respected scientist, Dr. Radhakrishnan, who was the previous chairman of ISRO, who's very eminently suitable for looking at complex issues, having faced such problems in ISRO. So that committee will give its report in 2 months. Further, CBI is inquiring into the matter. The Supreme Court is also seized of this matter. So let's wait for all the inputs to come. I think we need to have patience when dealing with such complex issues. I think once all these come, definitely a very good solution can be found so that such problems don't recur again.
And the Vice Chancellor of one of India's premier central universities, the Delhi University, Professor Yogesh Singh, also expressed hope that the steps taken by the government in the light of the paper leak of the NEET exams is good, and he assured the students that their interests will be foremost and they should not feel disheartened.
जो संभव स्टेप्स हैं वो ले रहे हैं ताकि विद्यार्थियों के बीच में जो अविश्वास का माहौल पैदा हुआ है वो दूर हो। और मैं आपके माध्यम से भी कहना चाहूँगा हमारे जो बच्चे इसमें अपीयर हुए स्टूडेंट्स, उनको भी एक भरोसा रखना चाहिए सिस्टम के ऊपर, क्योंकि शिक्षा मंत्रालय जहाँ से भी जैसे पॉसिबल है वो सारे स्टेप तो ले ही रहा है, साथ में ये इंश्योर करेगा, सुनिश्चित करेगा कि आपके भविष्य के साथ कोई भी खिलवाड़ न हो।
2 CRPF personnel were killed. This is after an improvised explosive device it blasted. It was by Naxalites in the Sukma district of Chhattisgarh. This happened on Sunday. This IED blast took place around 3 p.m. in the Sukma district. It was located about 400 kilometers from Raipur, which is the state capital of Chhattisgarh. And the personnel from the Commando Battalion for Resolute Action, that's called COBRA for short, the 201 Battalion of the CRPF were going from Silgir to Tekulagundem, and they were on a routine patrol as part of the road opening party that around 3 p.m. on Sunday, and they were on trucks and bikes when this truck was blown up by an IED. Meanwhile, in a big win against left-wing extremism in Sukma district itself of Chhattisgarh, authorities have made a major recovery. For the first time, the Chhattisgarh police have seized currency printers, ink and notes of several denominations from the Maoists. Extensive security operations in the region indicate that the Maoists' cash flow, it's linked to the use and circulation of counterfeit currencies in the local markets. So let's take a look at other stories from around the world. Adelaide's largest shopping centre was evacuated and locked down after 2 groups of reportedly armed young men fought in the food court on Sunday. The incident comes less than 3 months after a man attacked shoppers with a knife at another Westfield mall in Sydney, killing 6 people. Local authorities in southwest China's Guangzhou province have stepped up rescue work and evacuated people as torrential rains continue to batter the region, causing severe floods and landslides. The Japanese Emperor Naruhito and his wife began a week-long visit to Britain on Saturday, during which they will visit Oxford University, where they both had studied, and then attend a banquet with the British King, King Charles. The trip aims to celebrate the enduring bonds between Japanese and British royal families and underscores the strong relationship between the two countries. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. We'll discuss what to expect from the special session of India's Parliament, which commences from June 24.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. The 18th Lok Sabha will begin its first sitting on Monday, with members taking oath over the next 2 days. The Speaker's election and the President's address to a joint sitting will be the highlights of this session. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar visits the Baps Hindu Temple in Abu Dhabi, India and the UAE to take ties forward culturally and strategically. In the United Kingdom, hundreds of passengers are stranded at Manchester Airport as a power outage causes flight cancellations and severe delays. And to put into context the special session of Parliament, the first of the 18th Lok Sabha, we have with us Chaksu Roy. He's a legislative and parliamentary expert who has been researching India's parliament and practice. Thank you very much. Mr. Roy, is this session largely, for putting procedures in place, or can we expect the House to start transacting business straight away?
I think the first session of Parliament sets the tone for the succeeding session. So this session is not only going to be about putting procedures in place, but there are two important events that would happen. One, as you rightly mentioned, is the election of the Speaker. So that is the Speaker, as we know, is the custodian of Lok Sabha, and the Speaker is the one who will be conducting the proceedings of the House for the next 5 years. So that is an important election. So you will see that happening on the second day or the third day. And then even more important will be the President's address to MPs of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha in the new Lok Sabha chamber. Now, the President's address becomes important, especially after a general election, is because in the President's address, the President outlines what is the plan and the policy outlook for the new government for the next year. And the President's address obviously is written up by the government and delivered by the President.
Yes.
And the President's address then sets the tone for the legislative agenda for the upcoming sessions and for the kind of bills that members of Parliament can expect to debate for the rest of the year.
So, Mr. Roy, let's unpack some of what you said. As far as the Speaker's election is concerned, is there, any criteria for candidates to be members who can be selected or elected as the Speaker?
So, actually, two kinds of things would happen. One is already in motion, which is Mr. Bhartrari Mehtab, 7-time MP from Cuttack in Odisha. The President, Draupadi Murmu, has appointed him as the pro tem Speaker, which means that he will be the first Lok Sabha MP to take oath, and then under his and then when he is presiding over the proceedings of the House, the other members of Parliament will take oath. Now, the criteria for electing the Speaker on paper is quite simple, which is any Lok Sabha member, his or her name can be put in or nominated for election to the Speaker, and then the House and the members of the House decide as to who is it that they want as the Speaker. Now, generally in the past, on many occasions, we have seen that parties across the aisle sit together and agree upon a name of an individual as the Speaker, and then the election is unanimous. Okay. There have been some occasions where the election has been contested, but most of the times the election has been unanimous.
Okay, so what happens then about the Deputy Speaker? Because we haven't had a Deputy Speaker now for 5 years. Is that post also up for election, or is that a decision that the Speaker makes?
So the Deputy Speaker is also a constitutional position, and you've rightly pointed out that it was vacant for the last 5 years. Yes, that post is also up for election. In the past, what we have seen is that the election of the Deputy Speaker takes a little bit of a time. And the reason for that is that political parties have to sit together and decide as to who the Deputy Speaker is going to be. And then, consensus has to be built on that name, and then we can have a Deputy Speaker. The criteria again remains the same. A member of the House, can be the Deputy Speaker. And this is where the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha differ a little bit. The chairman of Rajya Sabha is not a member of the Rajya Sabha. And in the election of the chairman of Rajya Sabha, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha members vote. But Lok Sabha Speaker, the presiding officer of Lok Sabha, the custodian of the Parliament House complex, is a member of the Lok Sabha and has to be a member of the Lok Sabha at the time of election.
Right. What is the importance of pre-poll or post-poll alliances, in determining the choice of the leader of the opposition? Because here too, we've not had a leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha for the last 10 years.
Yes. Now, the leader of the opposition is a case wherein you require a minimum number of seats for an opposition party to have their leader appointed as the leader of opposition. And what that position essentially entails is that there is a Leader of Opposition Act, and that allows for certain allowances and privileges associated with that position. But we have had, if not a formal Leader of Oppositions, we have had Leader of Oppositions from the single largest party who have acted as a Leader of Opposition without the designation. But this time, since there is a principal opposition party which has enough number of seats to get that position, that party will then choose one of its members as to that position of the Leader of Opposition. And we can see that announcement happening, in the next, either in this session or in the upcoming session.
A final question, Mr. Roy. You did talk about the President's address. So put that into context for us. How important is that, since it's the beginning of a new government and also the first session of the 18th Lok Sabha, but also the subsequent discussion? I mean, is there a sufficient time, to discuss the President's address as well?
So you very rightly pointed out that the President's address at the beginning of the term of a Lok Sabha is extremely important. This is the address where the government will outline its vision, not only for the next year, but also, its overarching vision for the next 5 years. This is also then an opportunity for a broader discussion on the functioning of the government, where not only the ruling party members, but opposition members would also lay out what they think how the government has functioned. And in the past that we've noticed that there is a very spirited discussion on the motion of thanks to the President's address, and sometimes the discussion goes beyond the actual speech of what the President said, and it encompasses governance issues that either were not touched upon or which the opposition thinks that it wants to highlight. In this particular case, in this particular President's address, we might also see both ruling party and opposition members highlight some of the recent issues of importance that have come up, whether it comes to railway safety or to the sanctity of public examinations.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Chaksu Roy. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Roy. Right, in a big decision for the central government employees, the Government of India has amended the Central Civil Services Leave Rules 1972, which will now entitle the surrogate mother and the parents who adopt those children they can get childcare leave as well. This notification confirming the same was issued by the Department of Personnel and Training of the Government of India last week. So as per this notification, in cases of surrogacy, the surrogate, if she is a central government employee, will be eligible to get 180 days of maternity leave. The commissioning mother with less than 2 surviving children will also be granted maternity leave of 180 days in case either or both of them are government servants. Also, the commissioning father, who is a male government servant with less than 2 surviving children, will be granted paternity leave of 15 days within the period of 6 months from the date of delivery of the child. India's Home Minister and Minister of Cooperation Amit Shah chaired a high-level meeting in New Delhi to review overall preparedness for flood management in the country in the context of upcoming monsoon. The Indian Minister of Jal Shakti, C.R. Patil, the Minister of State for Home Affairs, Nityanand Rai, attended the meeting. Various secretaries of the concerned ministries also attended the meeting. Officials from the Railway Board, the NDMA, the NDRF, the IMD, CWC, NHIA and other senior officials of ministries concerned attended the meeting. The Indian Army has received its first set of skin from donors. This is the first skin donors into the skin bank. So it's a unique feat, in fact, for the Indian Army. They announced last week about the opening of a state-of-the-art skin bank facility at the Army Hospital in New Delhi. And this facility offers the latest modern treatment for severe burn injuries received by armed forces personnel and their families. And this is the first of its kind, in fact, to be established within the armed forces and medical services. The Army believes that more awareness of skin donation should be created in the country to bridge the demand and supply gap. The head of the plastic surgery of this hospital, the Army Hospital, Brigadier Sanjay Maurya, urged people to come forward to donate skin the way they donate organs.
फर्स्ट डोनर हमको 29th ऑफ मई को हमने पहला ऑर्गन डोनेशन स्किन डोनेशन यहाँ रिसीव किया था, जो अभी प्रोसेस में है और उसका थर्ड फेज़ आज कंप्लीट हुआ है और वो भी क्वालिटी चेक में है जिसके और उसमें 2 हफ्ता लगेगा। वंस वी रियलाइज़ कि वो ठीक है तो हमारे वो ट्रांसप्लांट के लिए फिट डिक्लेयर होगा और उसको हम यूज़ कर सकेंगे। स्किन डोनेशन से भी बहुत सारे लोगों की जान बचाई जा सकती है जो हमारे पास जल के आते हैं, जिनके पास हमारे पास अभी कोई जवाब नहीं है। अगर आप लोग इस प्रक्रिया से और इस डोनेशन से आगे बढ़ के आएँ तो मैं आशा करता हूँ कि हम बहुत सारे जवान जिनकी जलने की वजह से जान चली जाती है उनको हम बचा सकेंगे।
The United Nations Public Service Day was observed today to honor the invaluable contributions of public servants all over the world. This day serves as a reminder of the vital role that public service plays in fostering community growth and well-being. The theme for United Nations Public Service Day 2024 is Fostering Innovation Amid Global Challenges, a public sector perspective. The theme emphasizes on the importance of innovation in addressing the complex challenges faced by communities worldwide, highlighting the role of the public sector in driving meaningful change. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. Extreme weather patterns sweep across continents, disrupting people's lives. Hockey India marks this year's Olympic Day with an array of activities designed to promote sportsmanship and values. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. The persistence of extreme weather patterns has taken its toll on people who are suffering untold miseries across the Americas, Europe and Asia. local authorities find themselves out of their depth in dealing with potential calamities. Mihir Makori gives us an account of the Earth's weather turmoil.
Extreme weather patterns are sweeping across continents spanning from the Americas through Europe and into Asia, capturing global attention. In the eastern United States, a scorching heat wave has taken hold, with Saturday marking a notable milestone as the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., baked under temperatures soaring to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Amidst the sweltering conditions, denizens of the city sought refuge in various ways.
It's super hot out here, but I'm used to it, you know. I fight villains like Molten Man all the time. But man, today, everyone, make sure you stay hydrated. Because even me, I get dehydrated, and I gotta make sure I'm always drinking water. Ice cold water for today, guys.
On the other hand, a severe storm system has ravaged the southern regions of Wisconsin, leading to widespread flooding and causing significant damage to properties. Rock Valley City in Iowa experienced severe flooding as heavy rainfall inundated the streets. The state has issued a disaster proclamation in response to the widespread deluge. In southern America's Colombia, over 4.5 million people are facing severe food insecurity driven by a mix of armed conflicts and extreme weather events. The situation is further exacerbated by phenomena such as El Nino, which has alternately brought drought and heavy rainfall.
In the short term, we need to study these weather cycles to establish new strategies for crops and implement sustainable agriculture. We could adopt mixed cropping, which involves growing different types of crops together to better adapt to varying weather conditions.
In the picturesque Italian island of Sicily, residents and tourists are flocking to the beaches to cool off amidst scorching heat waves. Local authorities have issued health advisories urging everyone to take precautions and stay hydrated.
Right now, it's unbearably hot, really an African heat. These past few days, the sky has been a bit overcast but always very hot, maybe because of the heat cap, let's say. Today, however, it's beautiful, wonderful.
And in southern China, local authorities are intensifying flood control and relief operations aimed at mitigating disaster damage. The initiative follows persistent heavy rainfall since June 9 in these areas. Mihir Makri's report for DD India.
Well, time now for all the sports news. And in the T20 Cricket World Cup, Gulbuddin Naib's deadly spell guided Afghanistan to a historic 21-run win over Australia in the Super 8 match on Sunday in fact, in the morning. Chasing 149 runs, Australia lost early wickets before Glenn Maxwell came to the rescue and dominated the Afghan bowlers. Maxwell scored 59 or 41 balls and brought Australia back into the game. However, the Afghan bowlers bounced back in style and bundled out Australia for 127 and registered a thrilling win. Naib scalped 4 wickets while Naveenul Haq scalped 3. And this was Afghanistan's first ever win over Australia in this format of international cricket. In fact, earlier in the match, Australia pacer Pat Cummins also became the first bowler to register consecutive hat-tricks in T20 internationals. And Tapas Bhattacharya joins us. He's covering the World Cup for us. He's at St. Lucia in the Caribbean. Well, Tapas, are the Australians on the brink of elimination? They need now to beat India to stay alive. What's the Darren Sammy ground like?
Well, absolutely bang on there, Mark, that it is high time that Australia, bring their A game on. And against Afghanistan, they look like they took Afghanistan for a ride and they paid a major price for that. Remember, this is the same Afghanistan which eliminated New Zealand, and New Zealand were a very strong team. They managed to eliminate New Zealand, and now they are on the brink of eliminating Australia. And mind you, Australia are the 50 World Cup champions. The last time in 2023, they won the Cricket World Cup, 50 over Cricket World Cup. They are World Test champion also, and they were actually thinking of winning the T20 World Cup to have all the 3 ICC trophy in record, in their for them. But Afghanistan had different ideas, and they showed why they are considered a giant killers in this particular T20 World Cup. 2007, their journey started from this particular area with Caribbean islands. Remember, they started their they made their debut in that particular T20 World in that particular 50 over World Cup, and from then onwards, they have come a long way and becoming one of the powerhouses in T20 World Cup, T20 format. Most of their players actually play in different countries T20 format, and that's one of the reasons why they are such a major force in this particular shorter version of the game. So
yes.
Right now, for Australia, it is imperative that they defeat India. India will be playing Australia in this particular St. Lucia ground tomorrow, local time at around 10 o'clock. And for Australia, that's a make or break time. If they manage to beat India and keep a healthy run rate, then for Afghanistan, they have to beat Bangladesh, and that too with a major run rate. So that's one point of it. But if yes. India managed to defeat Australia, then Afghanistan just need to beat Bangladesh to make their way into the semi-final, and that will be it will be interesting to see how the permutation and combination works out. So sure. Right now this particular group is wide open.
Absolutely, Tapas, but let's stick to Afghanistan just a little bit. You talked about how their players play in so many different leagues, but how do they come together as a unit? Do they have the skill and the determination to go, the whole way? Because you've got 2 giant kills already. You mentioned New Zealand and now Australia.
Absolutely, and this is not the first time they have done this. If you take a close look at their performances over the years, you will realize that any team which has taken them lightly have been given a run for their money. In fact, against Australia, the whole just for a brief moment when Glenn Maxwell was playing blinder, it looked like maybe Australia may be able to go over the line, but the way their ballers, they have amazing slow ballers. Their captain Rashid Khan himself is a world-class spinner, and their pacers actually, in fact, they are ruling the roost in this particular T20 World Cup, being one of the top wicket takers in the tournament. So sure. In that sense, one has to say that they are absolutely favourite, and the way they have defeated Australia, they have made sure that in all the aspect of the game, they had the upper hand. Be it fielding. Remember, yesterday Australia was absolutely sloppy, to say the least. And in the batting also, the first Australia got the first breakthrough. Let me come in here because we're running short of time. Afghanistan had 119 run.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the mood in the Indian camp. We've been making a habit of winning. The winning way is pretty good, but it happens only right up to the final hurdle. And we saw that in the ODI World Cup. We even saw that in the Test Championships. So, I mean, how is India addressing that big question, the big game blues?
Well, one thing is for certain, you need to be in that position to first be that to get that particular result. So Indian team has been doing exceptionally well. In fact, you see the last few years, you will realize that they are doing what many teams call they play percentage cricket. They take the game to the last moment. They take the game to the depth, and right now all the boxes are checked marked, and their batting is clicking, their bowling is doing absolutely fine. Their fielding is exceptional. So, before the match against Bangladesh, a lot of question marks were raised about the form of Virat Kohli and the place of Shivam Dube. But they have shown that Indian team that they are doing absolutely fine with both Shivam Dube and Virat Kohli coming back in form and scoring runs. So, overall, this particular Indian team looks really balanced, and with the inclusion of Kuldeep Yadav, that Chinaman coming in and providing that extra bit to the bowlers. And Kuldeep Yadav has been a revelation in the last 2 matches in the Caribbean, and he is the guy that the Indian team now goes when they need breakthrough. So we believe that against Australia, it's not going to be easy. St. Lucia pitch is expected to assist the spinners as well as like any other Caribbean pitches. So Australia will not have it easy against India, and Indian spinners have ball in tandem and with Akshar Patel, Ravindra Jadeja, and now Kuldeep Yadav joining hands. It's not going to be easy. And remember, you have Boom Boom Bumrah to start the proceeding. This match is going to be a very interesting match to stay.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Tapas Bhattacharya joining us from St. Lucia in the Caribbean. Now, Switzerland face Germany in the UEFA Euro 2024 on Sunday. They are looking to book their place as well in the round of 16 of the competition. Germany are already through to the knockout stages. Germany built on their 5-1 win over Scotland in the tournament's opening game. They built on that with a 2-0 defeat of Hungary. And this win saw them secure a place in the knockout stages with a game to spare. The International Olympic Day is observed on June 23 every year, and the day celebrates the founding of the International Olympic Committee, promoting sports, unifying power, and also the healthy living and global camaraderie which the games generate. And the day it was established by the International Olympic Committee in 1948. It's to encourage individuals from all walks of life to embrace the Olympic values of excellence, friendship, and respect. The Bharat Center of the Olympic Research and Education, it was inaugurated on Sunday at the Rashtriya Raksha University in Gandhinagar in Gujarat. And this event marked a significant milestone for the Indian sports community, with the center set to become a pivotal hub for knowledge innovation and performance enhancement. The Indian Olympic Association President, the legendary sprinter P.T. Usha, speaking at the function, she highlighted the center's role in transforming the Indian sports landscape. She emphasized that the launch of this center represents a major stride towards achieving excellence in sports and Olympic participation. Shrija Akula has become the first player from India to clinch a singles title at the World Table Tennis Championships, a contender event in fact, on Sunday. In the thrilling final held at Lagos in Nigeria, Shrija triumphed over China's Ding Yejie, and she won 10-12, 11-9, 11-6, 11-8, 11-6. Shrija's journey to the title was marked by exceptional performances. She reached the finals in both the women's singles and the women's doubles categories. It's a historic win not only for her, but also it made the first Indian to advance to the WTA contender final in the singles category. That's what she was. Well, we're moving back now to a story that we shared with you earlier of India's External Affairs Minister's visit to the UAE. Dr. Jaishankar on Sunday inaugurated the International Day of Yoga celebrations at the iconic Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi. The event saw wide participation from people across the UAE. That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.